Members, I'll ask Ms. Clark to note down the list of members who would like to ask questions, and this is the appointed time. We have a quorum, so I call to order this meeting, which is the briefing by Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury on the relevant policy initiatives in the CE's 2014 policy address. All members have been invited to take part in the discussion of this item, and I'll invite the administration in. And for members' reference, in relation to the counterfeit bank notes issue raised on the 6th of January meeting, the administration has supplemented some information, so members can also follow up on this during the questions and answers session. Good morning, Secretary.
So
if the administration is ready, would Secretary please walk us through the relevant initiatives in the policy address? Madam Chair, members, I'm delighted to attend the meeting of the panel on financial affairs to brief members on the work of the FSTB. Due to the due to the markets turning relatively stable in the past months, we're expected to have a normalization of monetary environment amid the U.S. Federal Reserve's announcement of the tapering of asset purchases, but there will still be some uncertainty. The currencies in emerging markets will experience some sharp plunges. In particular, the currencies in Turkey and also in Brazil, it dropped by 14%, and also in South Africa. And the IMF warned that when the UF further tapered the asset purchase program, there will be market turbulence in emerging economies. With uncertain external environment, we will continue to closely monitor the latest development of the global and local financial markets and act swiftly as and when necessary to ensure the proper functioning of our financial markets. The administration's monetary regulatory bodies have been collaborating with the market in promoting the market and also to strike a balance between maintaining stability and developing the market. We will continue to step up collaboration with the mainland counterparts to achieve win-win situation in relation to the exchange of capital and manpower resources. Will continue to advance in this area, and with the mainland initiatives, there will be more cooperation between the two places, and these are the initiatives announced in the third plenary session, and the fiscal reserve stands at $1,260 billion. And to maintain our leading position as a leading economy in the Asia-Pacific region, we'll continue to develop Hong Kong as an asset management center for so that Hong Kong become a base for these institutions. And based on the proposals put forward, we're working with the relevant government departments and SFC to set up a framework to allow open-ended investment companies as a vehicle to set up investment funds, so that there'll be more choices in the market to create Hong Kong as an investment base. We're preparing to launch a public consultation exercise, and we'll also consult the sector. In relation to offshore fund, we're going to extend the profits tax exemptions so that private equity funds can also enjoy tax exemption for offshore funds. And for Islamic bonds, at present, they enjoy a taxation framework comparable to conventional bonds, and we would like to accommodate the issuing of sukuk under the government bond program, and also the new trust law, which came into effect in December 2013, together can strengthen Hong Kong's status. And the new companies ordinance came into operation on the 3rd of March this year to modernize the set of companies ordinance to facilitate business and enhance corporate governance, etc. And we have also started work on corporate insolvency laws, and in relation to the statutory corporate rescue procedure, we will take the proposal further. This will help enhance Hong Kong's status as an international financial center. And implementing international regulatory standards is also within the purview of the FSTB. And following the G20 summit in relation to the regulatory framework on over-the-counter OTC derivative market, we have submitted a bill, and the examination of the bill is underway. And we will also develop an effective cross-sectoral resolution regime for financial institutions, and we have started a 3-month consultation in the first stage. And the proper set of rules will help the relevant authority in resolving financial institutions should they fail, in order to protect public money. And we're going to roll out a second stage consultation in due course. And subject to the result, our target is to introduce the legislation into LegCo in 2015. On international regulatory standards of banks, Hong Kong has implemented the first phase of Basel III capital requirements from the 1st of January last year in relation to the relevant monitoring and disclosure requirements. This year, we are going to introduce the regulations on the liquidity and capital buffer requirements, and it is also one of our key initiatives to set up an independent insurance authority. We're going to submit the relevant proposal this year, and also it will also come with proper transitional arrangements. And for auditors, due to the increasing trend of setting up independent regulatory body for auditors, we are discussing with the Hong Kong Institute of CPA on rolling out a scheme so that the regulatory framework can become more independent, and that it will be more widely recognized in the international arena. We expect to table the relevant proposal into LegCo in the middle of this year. And for uncertificated securities regime, it will be taken forward in a gradual approach. And with more modern payment systems, we would like to introduce a comprehensive regulatory framework for stored value facilities and retail payment systems. And on MPF, we are working together with the MPFA. In the first half of this year, we will consult the public on the core funds proposal, and the core funds will be subject to regulation, and the investment return and risk will be balanced as an investment strategy, and full portability of the MPF will also be looked into. Our target is to submit recommendations to the government by the end of 2015. In relation to tax information exchange arrangements, our priority is to seek to expand Hong Kong's network of CDTAs, comprehensive agreements for avoidance of double taxation, covering Hong Kong's major trading and investment partners, and we'll continue with our work in this regard. And meanwhile, we understand the latest international standard on exchange of information for tax purposes, that a jurisdiction should be made available both CDTA and Tax Information Exchange Agreement (TIEA) as instruments for EOI with other jurisdictions. With the enactment of the relevant ordinance in July last year, Hong Kong is now able to enter into standalone TIEAs with other jurisdictions where necessary, and we'll follow up the work in this regard. As the Chief Executive points out in the policy address, financial services sector has created 230,000 jobs in Hong Kong and accounts for 1/6 of the GDP, and can also bring about benefits in the retail and other industries. And quality financial services can also bolster Hong Kong's status as the international asset hub and create business opportunities locally and internationally, and enhancing Hong Kong's competitiveness. And the FMM, the Financial Ministers meeting in Hong Kong, will be held in Hong Kong in September, and we will further bolster our status as an international financial center, and also explore economic cooperation opportunities with other economies in the region. So much for my presentation. I'm happy to take questions. Let me read out the name of members: Wong Kwok Heng, Sin Chung Kai, Kenneth Leung, Chen Kin Po, Chen Yun Han, Andrew Leung, Chen Kam Lam, Leung Sing, Deputy Chairman Wong Ting Kwong, and myself, 11 members. Please indicate if I have missed out any names. So please be as brief as possible. 4 minutes, Mr. Wong Kwok Heng. Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 questions for the administration. The first is about renminbi business. Now, currently, Hong Kong residents are only allowed to exchange renminbi for up to 20,000, and we all understand that for Hong Kong dollars, it's negative. It has a negative interest rate or zero interest rate. So if it's converted into renminbi, it can defend against inflation. However, this $20 requirement is an obstacle for renminbi business development. And what is the view of the administration? Will there be a timetable to relax the amount for converted? And will there be a timetable? And secondly, a question coming from employees for the administration. Now, Secretary, you mentioned enhancing the MPF. I'm not asking about MPF offsetting arrangements. I understand you don't have an answer anyway. Now, for the MPF arrangements, there will be a new core fund, but employees would like to have more choices. For example, money should go to Mr. Norman Chan of HKMA for investment, so that their money won't be eroded by high administrative fees. Will there be more choice for employees?
Thank you, Mr. Wong, for your 2 questions. Regarding the renminbi business, to put it simply, the 20,000 renminbi limit has its own historical background. Hong Kong, when we first started the renminbi business, it was through this arrangement that we can make it convenient for the people of Hong Kong to accumulate a considerable amount of offshore renminbi deposits. But in view of the fact that the market has now developed to a considerable size, and the offshore renminbi services have become more diversified, and many investors are now many investors overseas can participate in the trading of the renminbi. So the government, the HKMA, and the banks agree that the $20,000 ceiling could perhaps be adjusted. We agree that there is a need to follow up on this. Last year, Mr. Norman Chan of the HKMA and the Association of Banks, when they went to Beijing, they raised the issue with Mr. Zhao in the mainland. When I accompanied the CE to visit Beijing and met with Mr. Zhao, we also raised the same issue. And the People's Bank of China are now following up on the proposals from the trade. They're looking into whether or not there's room for enhancement. I believe that after they've conducted the study, they will share with us their views. And we certainly follow up on this point. Regarding the MPF situation, now I'll put it very simply. Please continue. Well, regarding the MPF, the core fund, the core fund is meant for long-term investment, and there are also measures to control cost through the establishment of the core fund, and we will be able to contain the cost. As whether or not we should entrust the HKMA to do it, and as a result fees could be reduced. According to our analysis, that may not be the case. I understand that the fees charged by the fund managers under the MPFA scheme is that the system at the moment is rather complicated. If we do not resolve this problem, it would not really have any. It wouldn't really help in terms of the reduction of fees. So through the setting up of the core fund, we should be able to do something in controlling the cost. Mr. Sin Chung Kai, it's about the Chinese New Year is around the corner. I'd like to wish the officials a Happy New Year, especially the Permanent Secretary, Mr. Ao. I hope you would. I wish you. I hope you'll continue to serve the people of Hong Kong. But my question is not directed to you, but rather to Ms. Chair. Perhaps. Well, in the policy address, there are various measures proposed, which is about the alleviation of poverty, and also made a commitment on behalf of the Treasury. The basic law said that we have to spend according to within our means, and I wouldn't say repeat what the HKMS, the FS was said that the amount is close to 20 or 10 billion. Mr. Zhang actually gave away so-called freebies up to 200 billion by way of tax rebates and rebates for the rates. So does it mean that this year there won't be any further so-called freebies this year? So my question is that over the last 2 years, the government had not adjusted the basic tax rate and the tax brackets for the salaries and incomes tax, whereas we have already gone through experienced a 7 to 8% inflation in the last 2 years. Many people who previously did not fall under the tax net have now been are now coming under the tax net. Shouldn't the government, take care of the middle class and come up with some sort of, assistance or at least increasing the tax the tax concessions so that we can lighten the burden? The paper is not silent on this point. Regarding the part concerning Treasury, we only have paragraph 36. So I hope the Deputy Secretary could tell us whether or not the middle class is going to will have to face a rather dim prospect, or would you talk to the Secretary and provide some hope for the middle class. Thank you, Mr. Sin. Of course, this is not the forum for a consultation on the budget. Your questions is about what would be our considerations relating to the budget. In the past, the budgets, I think in terms of the tax allowance, personal tax allowances, allowances for supporting parents and children, there would be a review every year. And during the past budgets, there have been changes to those allowances. Today, I'm not able to give you a specific answer. When the budget is being prepared, we certainly take all those factors into consideration. I'd like to follow up on one point. After the policy address has been announced, the Secretary gave the figure of 20 billion, whereas the Chief Secretary said it's about 10 billion. And then you said it's roughly more than 10 billion. I think you should have now done your sums. Could you tell us what is the exact amount? 10 million odd dollars? Well, it depends on, what you are asking. The additional expenses. Let me put it this way. I've said that in respect of the content of the policy address, according to the content of the policy address and the concerns raised by the media, we've conducted some calculation. In respect of the recurrent expenditures and the time-limited recurrent expenditure, the total amount is more than 10 billion. Close to 10 and close to 20. It's not close to 20 billion. Mr. Leung Kai-Chiang, thank you. In paragraph 7 of the paper regarding the regulation of auditors, I support the proposal. You say this will help Hong Kong satisfy the requirements of the International Forum of Independent Audit Regulators and recognition of regulatory equivalence by the European Union. Do you have any position as to whether or not we should satisfy one or both these requirements? Many people in the trade have told me about the changes to the system for civil liability. Do you have a position on that? And secondly, regarding the local bond market, in paragraph 18, you said other than issuing I-bonds, does the government have any plans to promote a local retail bond market so that there will be more choices for investors? And thirdly, in paragraph 22, regarding the new companies ordinance, that is the part on mergers, I understand that the proposal now is that companies within a group, they will need to be merged before it could be invoked. But there could be, irrelevant companies. So under 622, is it your intention that merger by universal succession, which is practiced in Europe? So what is the rationale behind the proposal in respect of merger? Paragraph 38, regarding the EOI, or the exchange of tax information. Apparently, you're now negotiating with the U.S. and Northern Europe about the exchange of tax information. At the end of last year, in November, December, I knew that you were already conducting the negotiation, but so far there has no progress yet. Could you update us on that? I'll try to be as brief as I can. Regarding the regulation of auditors, of course, we hope to be able to satisfy the international standards. Inferior is already the international standard. Of course, if the accountants want to expand their international businesses, if they want to enter the European market, they would have to consider how they would be recognized by the European market. I think certainly we'll consider satisfying the inferior requirement. We will work closely with the trade and consult the trade on this. My colleagues can perhaps follow up on your other questions. Regarding TIA, with the enactment of the legislation, we are now approaching the relevant, the interested jurisdictions. We are now talking to several Baltic states, and progress of the negotiations is satisfactory, and that we should be able to come up with some sort of arrangements. We are also negotiating with the U.S., but I'm not able to give you a timetable as to when there will be an agreement. Regarding the retail bond market, we certainly will continue to talk to the trade as to how we can provide more retail products. Well, today I think the interest rate is very low. As a result, retail products are not so attractive. So we certainly explore this further. Could someone answer the question relating to paragraph 622? Regarding the reform of what was the question again? Do you have a position, or do you think that's not necessary? We're still listening to the views of the industry. We're willing to talk to the industry as to how there could be some progress. We think that there might be some difficulties, so we're now still talking to the trade as to how we can take this forward. Could you answer the question regarding 622? I didn't quite hear the question, Chairman. Could Mr. Leung, I'll simplify my question further. I think you don't have time, Mr. Leung. You have to wait for the second round. Mr. Chen Kim Bo. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to provide some information. Some members asked for the MPF contribution to be entrusted to the HKMA for investment. Even if we were to do that, investors will still need to pay administration fees to pay. So as the Secretary said, only by streamlining the work of the MPFA can we really cut down the operating costs of the MPFA and hence cut down the admin cost. My question now, many people say that the policy address focus on alleviation of poverty and not very much as coverage has been on the development of the economy. I'm worried that the economy will not increase, develop as fast as the increase in expenditure. And I'd like to follow up on some of the recommendations of the Financial Development Forum. We see Hong Kong now has 7,499 companies which have their headquarters in Hong Kong. According to the government website of the Singapore government, there are more than 26,000 international companies based in Singapore. These are rough figures. If there is such a big discrepancy, we all know that Singapore really offers a lot of concessions to attract people to invest in Singapore, and the whole team of civil servants are like sales people. They would directly approach the international organizations and try to persuade them to invest in Singapore. I believe if we could do the same, we can resolve many problems. If the international operations come to Hong Kong, they can create employment. There will be more choices as for young people in terms of the jobs that they can look for. It really depends on whether you are willing to offer some tax concessions. So please resolve the question relating to 39E as soon as possible. I hope that you would, pay attention to tax concession and try to attract more multinational companies to come to Hong Kong, because it will create a lot of business opportunities. The benefits will far outweigh the costs. So I'd like to ask whether or not you would do that. And I also, regarding the Shanghai Free Trade Zone, which is doing so well, I don't think we should regard it as a threat, but how we can complement the free trade zone in Shanghai so that we have kind of a win-win situation. Of course, attracting foreign companies to set up offices in Hong Kong is something that we would like to see. And different departments are working on this. Many overseas companies using Hong Kong as headquarters. I think there's been a number of such companies setting up headquarters in Hong Kong to manage their businesses in China and North Asia. So there is some progress here. As whether or not we need to attract them by way of tax concessions deserves to be explored. It is our view that if we were to attract some companies to come to Hong Kong by way of tax concessions, it would create, an unfair environment, because you cannot offer tax concession to some and not to the others. Otherwise, eventually we'll be required to offer such concessions to all, and that will weaken our tax base. What we really need to do is to promote our competitive edges and attract them to come to Hong Kong.
On the free trade zone in Shanghai, I want to clarify one point. We have never viewed it as a threat. Rather, we see it as a great opportunity. In our internal assessment, we believe that the free trade zone is an important step towards deepening the economic reform in the mainland, and will actively respond to it. And we also encourage people to use the free trade zone to develop their business in the mainland. The administration will actively follow up on it. Ms. Chen Yun-han. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think Secretary would also note the concern raised by the public on MPF offsetting arrangement. I think this is under your purview. This is not under the purview of the Labour and Welfare Bureau. I think it's under your purview. That's my perception. And in the CE's election, he made it clear that some change has to take place. However, he has announced 2 policy addresses and nothing has been done. And there are only some 3 years left in his term. It's difficult to make any legislative changes within 3 years when there are voices in the community saying that it's unfair to offset the MPF against the long-term service payment and severance payment. This is unfair. So, Secretary, I think it's under your purview. So, what is your timetable? The Chief Executive responded subsequent to the discussion in the community, that it wasn't mentioned, but it didn't mean it wouldn't be implemented. So, Secretary, it's under your purview. Let's make it clear. This is under the purview of the government. But you're the responsible officer. Well, on this topic, this is a big topic over the past 2 months. During consultation for policy address and the policy address announcement on MPF, we saw that in the long run, it's a thorny issue because the employer side and the staff side have conflicting views. And the Chief Executive also mentioned that he would listen to views in the community in deciding the way forward. Careful study is required. And on this issue, it's a cross-sectoral, interdepartmental issue, and the administration will be very careful in considering it. Well, when you're talking about involving different government departments, this will be a very difficult issue. So, Secretary, very soon, MPF will turn from semi-portable to fully portable. And this is a technical problem to be resolved. The MPFA members, many feel that the offsetting arrangement has to be changed. Secretary, you may view it differently. If it's so difficult, a working group should be set up as soon as possible to tackle it, just like the statutory minimum wage. First of all, you must take responsibility instead of saying that other departments are involved, and then tell me what will be done. I note your view, Ms. Chen, but this issue must be viewed holistically across government departments because different policies are involved, and on MPF offsetting arrangements, some work will be done. And as I said in my opening remarks, we are actively rolling out initiatives involving MPF, for example, on reducing fees and preparing for full portability. As for MPF offsetting arrangements, the way forward, we need to consider all the issues. We understand your view, and I think the administration would not shun the issue. Mr. Andrew Leung. On renminbi business, Hong Kong is the largest offshore renminbi business center. We have 800 billion renminbi in Hong Kong, and for the 800 million renminbi, it's a very huge amount. And yet, we don't have any orderly strategy in, say, investing or depositing renminbi. There's a 2% interest for renminbi deposits in the super low interest rate environment without other major investment tools reaping more income. This is one of the channels, and even for some bonds, they offer 2% dividend. So I don't know if any discussion will be held with, say, Guangdong province or mainland to fully utilize these investment tools to generate high investment income for our people. And also our alliance recently met with the secretary in Guangdong province, and we talked about the free trade zone in Guangdong province. We understand that Guangdong is also applying with the central authorities for setting up of the FTZ. And what is the administration's view on this? Will there be any active participation on renminbi? In terms of certificate of deposit and deposits, the total amount is not 800 but 1,000 billion, and the figure has continued to grow from a sharp increase in the first 2 years to a stable rise, and that shows a demand. The demand comes from investment as well as trading, and also renminbi for serving the global economy, and that's why the sum has increased to 1,000 billion, and this is beneficial for market development. And if we're able to find more investment opportunities, it will be 2,000 billion instead of just 1,000, and this will be our way forward. As for the development of renminbi business, there are several fronts. In terms of liaising with other economies, we need to increase our attractiveness in running renminbi business, and on improving circulation of renminbi with the mainland, we must smoothen it so that foreign investors can take part in investment appropriately, be it lending or FDI or RQV products. This is the way for us forward, and we will continue to promote our businesses in this regard. In the third plenary session, it was mentioned that the capital account of mainland will gradually be opened up, and there will also be a two-way flow of capital gradually, and there will be opportunities for us to promote products in this regard. Sorry for being so long-winded. Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Free Trade Zone, this is not a local issue. We must also take part in the setting up of free trade zones in other parts of the mainland, and the administration will stay active in this regard. Next, Mr. Chen Kam Lam. Thank you, Madam Chair. Financial services. Over the past year, much work has been done in stepping up regulation and opening up markets. The administration has done a lot. In the coming year, in terms of renminbi products, renminbi conversion, I hope the administration can open up the market. And I'm more concerned about this. We talked about paper gold and Bitcoin. These investment products of a deceptive nature, they should be taken action against, or they should be regulated. These investments are conducted at a relatively smaller scale at the moment, but as an international financial center, we don't want to include any small investment products with certain risks which cannot regulate over. This is undesirable. Recently, in the U.S., 2 people were arrested, and they took part in money laundering through the use of Bitcoin. And is this happening in Hong Kong? Are there any speculative activities with the use of Bitcoin? I think the administration should consider it. Will there be any problems when we take action against it? I hope the administration can answer my question. Secretary. Thank you, member, for your question. There are various products in the market. They may not be financial investment product. Under the current legislation, they may not be regarded as such. So when there is deception involved or fraud involved, what we do is we will closely monitor the situation and decide how action should be taken against it. For Bitcoin, when we first answered Lesko's question, we mentioned that in terms of anti-money laundering, this is our key concern. So about the people arrested in the United States, they were also involved in money laundering. Any supplement from my Hong Kong MA colleagues? Yes, as mentioned by Secretary just now, under the current AML laws, any person who engages himself in money laundering activities by using Bitcoin, he may be arrested. And the HKMA is also closely monitoring this trend, and we've issued a circular to banks requesting them to keep watch of these products, not just limited to Bitcoins. If any clients are involved in using such products, banks should be cautious in checking their situation. And I understand that for SFC, a similar circular has also been issued. Internationally, we will also closely monitor the latest developments and, if necessary, see whether we need to follow up on any issue. Next, Mr. Ng Sing. On the policy address 2014, there was a little has been mentioned about financial services. It could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. Anyway, we must generate more income under the lead of the FSTB, because our Hong Kong success lies in our status as the international financial center. I need to declare that I'm a member of the Bank of China. I'm also a member of the an institution. And as for the opportunities given to us to operate the offshore renminbi business center, we are blessed, because renminbi business development is beneficial not only to Hong Kong but to our country. And the conversion limit should gradually be relaxed, but this is a double-edged sword. If the limit is relaxed, there might be more fluctuations. Some may stand to gain, some may stand to lose. If there are fluctuations, those having bought renminbi-related products might incur a loss.
In terms of regulation, as you say in paragraph 4, you aim to align with the international standards. I want to ask the government this question. Although the international standards are now constantly being upgraded, especially in the course of financial reform, and to cope with the repercussions of the financial crisis, there will be many reforms. But as far as the speed of such reform is concerned, do we need to even, be ahead of the other jurisdictions? I think these reforms should be conducted at a reasonable speed. And also, you raised the question of appropriateness. That is, we need to ensure that the reforms are reasonable, including the sanctions, so that the trade can be subject to a healthy regulation. Secondly, in paragraph 9, you refer to the study report by the Financial Services Development Council. The first report has now been published. Could you give us a timetable regarding how you will follow up on its recommendations? And going forward, this Council will conduct further studies and will be consulting the industries. So do you need to adjust the resources that will be available to the Council so that the industry can develop in a healthy manner? Regarding regulation, I'm sure Mr. Ng would understand that many of these regulatory requirements are international requirements. As a major international financial center, we have an obligation to do this. Of course, regulation, the purpose of regulation is to ensure a healthy development for the market. Every time we have any form of regulation, whether it's OEC or the Basel requirements, as far as implementation is concerned, we will certainly work closely with the trade in Hong Kong and we will consult them. We fully understand that we need to cater to the needs of the market before the regulation can benefit the economy. The electrical certainly will follow up on how we implement these regulatory requirements. Next, the question regarding the Financial Development Council. I think it published a report last month, and it is in close liaison with the government. So many of the issues raised in the report, for example, the real estate investment trust. 2 days ago, the SFC issued a consultation paper to consult the market on such REITs and how the regulations governing REITs should be amended. Regarding the open-ended investment fund, we will soon also publish a consultation paper. Through the platform of the Financial Development Council, we would be able to obtain the views of the trade, and so that we can follow up accordingly. So step by step, we will be putting forward proposals to the relevant panels in LegCo. On the 6th of January, when the chairman of that council came to LegCo, we also asked them to give us a report on how you follow up on the recommendations of the Financial Services Development Council. So could you, undertake to do that? It's not a question whether we adopt its recommendations. I think the report, the content of the report is very substantial. So regarding, for example, the open-ended investment company, in the follow-up paper, you will see how we have adopted the recommendation of the Council. I don't believe we can give a full account of all the work that we do through a single paper. In respect of their reports and documents, we will certainly come back to report to LegCo on the latest situation. The chairman, the secretary said that they will fight for access to the mainland market by the financial industry in Hong Kong so that we can leverage on our competitive edge and promote the development of new businesses and that our market could be diversified. I fully support this. However, on the other hand, the CEPA arrangements have been implemented for 10 years already. While the large door has been opened, the small door has not yet been opened. The financial industry has only heard rumors, but nothing substantial. We have not seen any substantial being done. So my question is, when will the financial industry be able to participate in the development of the financial market in the mainland? So what is the problem that is still holding us back? And Secretary, have you helped the SMEs open that small door so that we can serve the investors for the Hong Kong-Guangdong free trade zone? Thank you. With every round of CEPA arrangements, we have actively developed the financial market. Of course, how the market will open will follow the main timetable. In the past, on a pilot basis, we had they have opened up their market specifically for Hong Kong in CEPA 10. According to CEPA 10 in Guangdong and Shanghai, securities companies in Hong Kong were allowed to enter the markets. I understand that for each project or item, it may not be able to satisfy all the aspirations of the industry, and we certainly follow up further on that. All I can say is that given the macro environment, that is, the mainland market is going to be more and more open, especially with the setting up of the free trade zone. Within those free trade zones, it's possible that they will adopt even more opening up measures. We'll certainly actively consider the aspirations of our trade and reflect them accordingly. We've heard the views of the SMEs. Each and every time we talk to our counterparts in the mainland, we always raise to them your concerns. I'd like to supplement another question. Last month, the Financial Service Development Council published its report. It is a consultative body. Will you formulate a strategy, especially in respect of the financial policies, with reference to that report? Because the HAMA has neglected the needs of the SME. So I hope that you can make up for what is missing in the report of the Financial Service Development Council. Well, the agenda for that council is set by its members. Of course, we hope that the Financial Service Development Council will explore different issues. The policy of the government is that we certainly have our own overall strategy. The Financial Service Development Council is a very good platform. We will listen to its views. Members like Mr. Cheung, we certainly also listen to your views. Mr. Wong Ting Kwong, thank you. Starting November 2012, when the MPF scheme became semi-portable, what is the progress of that so far? And secondly, regarding the offsetting mechanism, there's a big difference of opinion between the employers and the employees, especially the SMEs. In 2015, the HKMA will make the MPF fully convertible, and the proposal will be submitted to the government for consideration. Will the government make the MPF fully portable and link that to the issue of setting off mechanism? And secondly, I'm concerned about the United States planning to cut down on the purchase of bonds, and that is the precursor to the tapering efforts. And this has caused a lot of volatility in emerging markets. Hong Kong was also affected. So given that the economies in the States and Europe are now turning around, and while the U.S. is planning is tapering measures, how would that affect Hong Kong as a financial market? Do you have any strategies in place? Let me answer the second question first. The market instability, which I referred to earlier, is that I think the effect of the tapering cannot be seen immediately. The impact of the tapering can only be seen over a long period of time, so that how it affects the capital flow can only be reflected over a longer period of time. We see that the currencies of emerging markets are now depreciating, and for the next round, how capital movements will change, we still have to monitor that. So as a result of the tapering exercises, it has created a lot of uncertainties. So we are constantly reviewing the external environment and our contingency measures. Of course, I don't want to make any economic forecast here, but in the face of these uncertainties, given such uncertainties, we are particularly vigilant. On the subject of the MPF, during a question and answer session in LegCo, I've already explained that the design of the fully portable scheme may not be premised on on whether or not the setting off mechanism should be scrapped. The work that we're now doing aims to ensure that the MPF could be made fully convertible or portable. Regarding the semi-portable arrangement, the Permanent Secretary could perhaps further elaborate. Regarding the self-portable arrangement, I think about 96,000 applications so far have been made for transfers. We have looked at the figures with the MPFA. On the one hand, the employees would like to adopt a wait-and-see attitude in view of the investment environment and whether or not they have such a need. The MPFA, in its promotion brochure, also reminded its members not to change their funds in haste. When we first launched the semi-portable arrangement, we want to provide more choice for employees and also promote competition. About 1/3 of the funds now have cut their fees as a result, ranging from 1 to 80 basis points. Of course, there's still further room for downward adjustment. Going forward, we need to look at whether or not there's room for improvement in terms of the trustee services, and how the MPFA can help them. The MPFA and the HKMA are now thinking of launching a central clearing and transfer platform. Through this electronic payment and clearing platform, we hope that when members want to transfer their accumulated interest from one trustee to another trustee, if it is done through this electronic platform, it could help enhance efficiency. Right now, the time for the transfer is 3 to 4 weeks, and it's too long. Hopefully, through this electronic platform, the conversion time could be shortened, so that we'll make the self-portable scheme more attractive. So we will focus attention on how we can enhance this service. Mr. James To, Chairman. I won't repeat what other members already talked about. I'd like to talk about the budget for the SFC. I'd like to remind the government of a few points. First of all, I don't understand why some people are now suggesting that the SFC should acquire its own office premises. According to I understand that they have just moved into the current premises for just a year. they've signed a long lease. And furthermore, they already have their premises. I don't think they should proceed to spend the money to acquire the premises just because they want to cut down on their reserves. Right now, property is so expensive. If the FSC were to buy property now, would that be an appropriate decision? And secondly,
this year it seems they finally agreed that according to the law, if their reserves exceed 2 times the limit, they would consider reviewing the levy or stamp duty. And that was the spirit of the law, the legislation, and eventually they changed their position and agreed to comply with the law, and they're proposing to reduce the stamp duty by 10%, and I agree. I welcome the proposal, and I moved the motion last time. The motion was carried to the panel. They should not get resources far exceeding those to meet their needs. So they should make a change, and they did. And about the $60 billion transaction amount per day, these are the projections. Of course, they may not be accurate. Even the financial secretary can't make an accurate projection or forecast. So maybe they would like to be more conservative. But if next year, if transaction volume goes up and income from stamp duty increases, then stamp duty or levy should not be charged unnecessarily. And on increase in manpower, we're still carefully looking into it. Of course, they need to explain to us, and we are scrutinizing the proposal, whether it's necessary to increase manpower, and we need a detailed explanation from them. In fact, the next meeting, time has been reserved for this item, Secretary. From the policy perspective, we would like to see that SFC has its own financial support independently. Instability should be avoided, and on how the expenditure of SFC should be controlled as far as possible, so as to achieve cost effectiveness. With the heavier workload of SFC, they would like to increase manpower, and they will be prudent in examining these proposals involving increasing expenditure. In the long term, for SFC, there is a plan. They have reserve at the moment, and in the long term, we would like to see a more solid foundation. On acquiring office space, questions can be put to them, but I think these are proposals in the long run. I have 3 questions. First, a follow-up question on reviewing the MPF arrangement. This is long awaited, and members have asked some questions, and PS mentioned that you're considering the setup of an electronic platform. Can it tackle the biggest problem with MPF? And if the platform is set up, will the high administrative fees be lowered, and by how much? And secondly, any study conducted on allowing MPF members to choose MPF A as the trustee? I believe I've asked this question before. And also another question: when will the outcome of the consultation or review be released? And also another question on the FSDC's recommendations. Their representatives, including Undersecretary, came to our meeting on the 6th of January to report to us, and at that time we agreed that they would report to us in due course. And just now Secretary said it's difficult to report to a single report. So Secretary, how are you going to report to this panel? Should it be done on a regular basis? This will be something we'll follow up on. The third point is about counterfeit notes. The administration has issued a paper, and Chinese New Year is coming, and I understand that the situation concerning counterfeit notes is not serious, but for consumers, they are in a difficult position. They have no choice but to accept the $1,000 banknotes coming out from ATM machines, and some shops have turned down those $1,000 notes. And you mentioned that although this is a legal tender, retailers have the right to reject or refuse to accept $1,000 notes. Will you consider providing more $500 banknotes through ATM machines to save the trouble for people? Because it's difficult for consumers if they only have $1,000 banknotes, and if retailers refuses to accept the 1,000 notes, what should happen? So on the point of counterfeit notes, I'll invite the HKMA colleague to take this question. Now we are introducing a number of initiatives, including seminars and online briefings, and we have organized so far 30 seminars with over 7,000 attendances. Most of them retailers, and now that they're familiar with distinguishing between genuine and counterfeit banknotes, they will have better confidence. As for ATM machines, now banks will try their best in storing $500 banknotes in ATM machines, but can $1,000 banknotes be totally avoided? There are needs for $1,000 banknotes in some places, and we have received views in this regard. If $1,000 banknotes are not used, ATM machines will have to be restocked from time to time, which will affect the service. Another point is on MPF review and also FSDC's recommendations and the reporting arrangement. Now for MPF review, we're following up on the work of setting up a core fund with regulation over administrative fees. This is not a public trustee arrangement. This is not the same thing. We just want to provide a fund with lower administrative fees so as to cater for the need for long-term investment. The other point is about FSDC. As I mentioned just now, we're going to follow up on it, and we're happy to report at appropriate juncture to the panel so that the general public will have a better idea of our work ahead. Alright, so this will be put on the list of follow-up items. For second round, 3 members, Sin Chung Kai, Kenneth Leung, and Chen Yun Han. 3 minutes. Sin Chung Kai. Madam Chair, the follow-up question, is it 15 billion or 80 billion? I don't think this should be secretive. Policy address is in the open. The budget may be confidential. I understand that, but on the 15th, the Chief Executive announced the policy address has been 2 or 3 years, and the LegCo will proceed to a debate. And for poverty alleviation measures mentioned in the policy address, how much would they involve? You have the $2 concessionary fare for minibuses and the healthcare vouchers, etc. It's been 2 or 3 weeks. Can you be more specific and tell us whether it's 12, 13, 14, or $15 billion? What's the difficulty in coming up with the sum? We can do the calculations, but I mentioned that it's some or 10 odd billion dollars, and we're still finalizing the figure. We don't have it yet. I reckon it would be around 12 or 13 billion. I really don't get it. You have a list. Is there a list available for electrical? Mrs. Sin? Well, Secretary, you have finished your answer, right, Mrs. Sin? In fact, specifically, you can make a list. I'm asking for the poverty alleviation initiatives or initiatives in the policy address involving financial commitment. How much will be involved? You can make a list. Now, let's say the $2 concessionary fare for minibuses, etc., and then the healthcare vouchers going up from 1,000 to 2,000. Let's say if all these are approved, you can make a list whether it's 11 billion or 12 billion or what. Give us a list. Yes, we'll follow up on it. Can you give us a list before we start the electrical debate on the policy address? Of course, we can do our own calculations, but I don't think administration can't do it. Well, Secretary, can you give us a paper then? Any difficulty? If there are difficulties, please tell us why, Ms. Chair. Because the various government departments are doing calculations on the financial commitment and expenditure of these departments in the 2014-15 budget. And about the proposals, preliminary, there are some proposed figures. Some initiatives will be implemented in one go, some will be phased or spanned across 3 years. And we need to know more about these initiatives before we can finalize the figures. And there aren't any difficulties in particular. When the budget is announced, we'll try to list out all the figures. As for the 100 or so initiatives mentioned in the policy address, we need to wait until the announcement of the budget before we can give a more comprehensive set of figures. Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan just entered the room, and he'll be speaking for the first round of 3 minutes. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not a member of this panel, but I am very concerned about MPF and the offsetting MPF against severance payment. We asked the same question to the Labor and Welfare Bureau, and they say that there would be a study, and we oppose it because it needs to be implemented instead of a study. However, it seems the administration doesn't even have the sincerity to study the issue. No timetable, no roadmap. The Labor and Welfare Bureau couldn't answer my question. The FSTB should join hands with LWB. Both are responsible for MPF. So on the offsetting arrangements, are you going to pass the buck to Labor and Welfare Bureau and vice versa? I'm not happy about a study or a roadmap or a timetable. So please explain to us. Thank you for your question. I understand your concern. This is a complex issue, and Chief Executive also understands the complexity of the issue and the conflicting views between employers and employees. We need to consider the issue comprehensively, and the administration would study the issue carefully and considering all views. So it is a perfunctory reply. You're actually being sarcastic. You're saying that CY Leung is simple and naive. The figures are very clear. $20 billion have been used in the offsetting arrangements, and it's been 10 years. So there is no complexity in it at all. You can only say that it's controversial, but you can't resolve controversies via studies. You can only do that by making taking decisive actions. And you can't say that chief executives suddenly realize that it's a complex issue. You seem to be laughing at the chief executive, and then you talk about considering the issues comprehensively. What about a timetable? How comprehensive? What study? What will the study involve? It's a matter of the stance and the controversies.
Will you be able to give us an answer? I think you have misunderstood the answer I gave just now. The CE has pointed out that this is a complex issue and various options would involve various interests which need to be looked at in a comprehensive manner. Any further supplements, Secretary? No. Mr. Leung Kai-Chiang. Thank you. I'd like to go back to Section 622 of the Companies Ordinance, the provision regarding mergers. For two companies A and B to merge, after merger, it's called Company C. Is Company C an extension of Companies A and B, legally speaking, and will C automatically inherit the assets and liabilities of A and B? If the answer is yes, then the merger provision, is it compatible with the concept of universal succession according to the continental law in Europe? And thirdly, I think the colleagues from your bureau would remember that in 2000 we have many banks conducting mergers. With the provision on merger under the Companies Ordinance, it can save a lot of our time. In future, if there were banks to merge, if they invoke the merger mechanism, can they make use of this provision so that there is no need for us to invoke a private member's bill? Who would like to respond? Now, we've heard we understand your questions. I think we need to go back and conduct a study and then give you an answer. You may not be able to answer the question. Why don't you give me a detailed written reply? Certainly. We'll follow up on that. Next, Ms. Chen Yun Han. Thank you. I think the Secretary is still evading the issue. Why don't you go back and talk to your colleagues? You say it's a complex issue. Two bureaus are responsible. If that's the case, why don't you approach your head, John Zhang, and work on this? Because C is now being... C said that the fact he's not mentioned this doesn't mean that he's not going to work on it. So if he's going to work on it, then you need to take some action. Another question which is about affect employees, that is streamlining the company insolvency law. Now, after when you announce the result of your review, would you give high priority for the employees in the case of insolvency by company? They are now ranked third in line of the priorities. When we need to go after the severance pays in the case of insolvency by company, the money is used for offsetting purposes. The MPF contribution accumulated are offset by the money, by such amounts. The Labour sector is so worried about the offsetting mechanism because if a company collapses, the employees already have a low priority, and the severance pay that they originally were entitled, and which can help tie them over during the period when they have not yet been able to find another job. So I hope you will look at it comprehensively. Could you consider giving a higher priority for the employees? And secondly, when a company goes bankrupt, I think it's really pathetic that our MPF contributions are used to offset the severance payment. Regarding the priority of employees in the event of insolvency, Mr. Ho, would you like to respond? Thank you, Ms. Chen, for your question. Under the insolvency ordinance, the priority for the respective parties, I think in Hong Kong we've already placed the employees at a high priority order. Employees now is accorded the highest priority other than the government and creditors. Secretary would like to follow on the other question regarding the offsetting arrangement. When the company collapses and when the employees want to recover get their severance pay, don't force them to have the MPF contributions to offset the severance payment. I think this involves our discussion about the offsetting mechanism, which we had a long discussion earlier. We fully heard your views. We have fully heard your views, Ms. Chan. It's one of the many complex issues that we are looking at. It's nothing complex at all. I think you should do something. You say employees now, is placed in the third position after government and creditors with pledges. Should we give a high priority to employees? I want to tell the workers that when the company goes bankrupt, well, in the event of bankrupt, the workers need. Ms. Chen, I think our time is up. I hope the officials have heard my question. Mr. James Toh. Let me follow up on Mr. Sin Chung Kai's question. I don't understand one point. The Permanent Secretary said that the expenditures to pay for the new initiatives, according to the policy address, you can only give us the concrete figures at the time when the budget is announced. Does that mean that we should adjourn our debate on the policy address? I don't think that's the case. So it's not possible. It is for you to decide on the timing. Previously it was in September. Now you prefer to announce it in January, and then you're telling us that you're still working on the budget figures. We don't know the budget is still still prepared. But you've already announced the policy address. You have to really work out the amount of expenditure involved. The purpose of these briefings is for us to ask you these questions. Could you tell us more specifically? That is, before our debate on the policy address, you won't be able to come up with a full list. Ms. To, I think the ballpark, the broad figures have already been mentioned in the policy address. But if we were to accurately do the calculations, as the PS said, we need time. The departments are still giving us the information. But I think that the ballpark figures are mentioned in the policy address. I don't want you to give us a figure rounded to the nearest $100. How about to the nearest 100 million? We'll see how we can follow up on that. So in other words, are you telling us you can't even do that? If that's the case, how does the administration function? The CE decides, even change the text of the policy address, immediately before the policy address is announced. But even if we were to take out the offsetting mechanism or insert another additional expenditure item, then you have to, accommodate that. So in the budget, for example, when you ask budget questions, I know that you have to work very hard to answer those questions, but we've all agreed that this is the rule of the game and you must follow it. Furthermore, you're now following the rules set by the CE. He announced a policy address. You tell us you can't do the calculations. I don't think I can accept that. Well, you've promised to go back and see how you can follow up on that, right? Mr. Sin, are you still on the same question? I think, Secretary, you should at least give us a checklist or a list, at least, as Mr. Toh suggested, to the nearest 100 million. I think that is only fair. I think if it's nearest to 100 million is already very reasonable. I think you should give us such figure before we have the debate on the policy address. Otherwise, there'll be no basis for the debate on the policy address. Okay, I think with that we can end our questions. I'd like to thank the officials for attending this session. If there are no further questions, I now declare that the meeting is adjourned.